Hello everyone. Kindly take your seats as we are about to start our next workshop. I'd like to invite Justin Lowe, currency analyst from ForexLive on stage. Justin, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, good evening. First of all, I want to thank Louise for a very kind introduction just now, and also for a brilliant presentation. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Justin, and I'm a currency analyst at ForexLive. I cover European markets and basically the European trading session with ForexLive, and I've been in the FX industry for about a little over a decade now. I used to work in a local bank in Malaysia. It's called CIMB Bank. I used to deal FX and options over there for about 4 years. And that's before I joined ForexLive for the last 7 years, actually. And for those of you who don't know ForexLive, what we basically do is that we provide real-time coverage and analysis of markets. We do it 24/5 and sometimes over the weekends as well. And we're pretty known for covering major market events especially. And we're also one of the OGs on the financial circles in Twitter. We actually just passed 400,000 followers on Twitter. So yeah, that's basically a little bit of who I am and what ForexLive is about. So yeah, on ForexLive, what we normally talk about is a lot about markets, a lot about the outlook, and we give our views about where the market is headed and stuff like that. But today I'm going to present on something a little bit different. It's going to be more on the psychological aspect of things. And before I get started, are there any Manchester United fans in the house? One. Chelsea. All right. Yeah, so I'm a huge football fan. Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm also a Manchester United fan. And we've not been having the best of years for many years now. Yeah, so recently there was the European Championships in Germany. So yeah, I was watching that with a couple of friends, some of them old friends, some of them new friends, and we got to talking and stuff like that. And a lot of them asked me about markets and what I do for a living. And to make it more relatable, I actually tried to explain to them in football terms. So yeah, it was quite interesting. They found it interesting. And they jokingly said that I should turn that all into a speech. And so here I am today doing just that. So yeah, and all right, so to start off, yeah, it's basically, what do you think that trading and playing a sport have in common? I mean, they seem like two very different activities, but when you approach it from a psychological perspective, there's actually more in common than you think. And that brings me to my first point, that it's all a psychological game, right? Sure, there are physical aspects to playing sports, but one common area that most people tend to overlook is actually the psychological aspect of it. And that's where I'm going to go dive into. And in that sense, before you even start playing a sport or before you even do anything, you have to adopt a positive mindset approach. I can't tell you the number of times that people have, come up to me and tell me that, oh, trading is too difficult. Markets are so complicated and I'm never going to get into it. Anyone from outside the finance industry probably can relate and will think that. Yeah, but you're pretty much already defeating yourself before you even get started. And when playing any sport, for example, let's say tennis, you tell yourself, yeah, I'm never going to play like Rafael Nadal. I'm never going to master a one-handed backhand, which, by the way, is overrated, I would say, because it makes no difference compared to a two-hand backhand. I mean, I would know because I have experience in that. Yeah, so when you tell yourself that, you're already putting a barrier in front of you and saying that you're not going to, fully utilize your capabilities. You're not going to try and learn, and you're putting a barrier in front of yourself that you're not going to succeed. So in order to fix that, you need to approach it with a positive mindset. And just like all things in life, it takes time and patience. Yeah, it takes time and patience to learn something, and it takes even more time to actually be good at it. Yeah. A lot of people come into trading and the number one thing that they want to see is profits. Yeah, everyone wants to earn profit, but when you first start out, you can't imagine yourself like winning all the time, right? And it's the same with playing any sport. When you first pick up a sport, do you think you're going to win all the time when you first start playing? Yeah, it's certainly not going to be the case. And it's the same thing in trading. And that's when, you have to start with the basics, all right? When you're playing sports, you start with the basic techniques before you move to more advanced techniques. And in trading, it's pretty much the same thing. You have to learn market concepts, you have to learn market trends, you have to learn the fundamentals, you have to learn the technicals, and you also have to learn risk management. That's probably the most important thing you have to learn. And with trading, you have to blend all of that together and then, make sense of it before you even get better at it. And all these concepts may seem very complicated at first, but it's the same thing with, let's say, playing badminton. Anyone here plays badminton? No. I'm a United fan. Yeah. So when you play badminton, everyone sees you playing, returning the shuttle with your wrists and your hands, but nobody talks about the most important thing with badminton. And I'm guessing only he would know. And the most important thing with badminton is actually footwork. That is something nobody actually talks about, but it's what all coaches will tell you. Because in order to return the shuttle, you actually have to have the right footwork to get underneath the shuttle before you actually return it. So yeah, it's basically starting from the basics. And in trading, you have to learn the basics before you actually get better at it as well. My next point is that in trading and basically when playing sports, is that you never win 100% of the time. And it's, when trading, everyone wants to win, everyone doesn't want to lose money, but there's no one strategy that guarantees you profits 100% of the time. I mean, even in sports, this is basically the same thing, right? The greatest players, the greatest sports teams, none of them win 100% of the time. Yeah. And that's when, you have to think about it and realize that it is important to be flexible and focus on what comes next. Yeah, the importance of being flexible, it's the same like in sports, you tailor-made your approach based on your opposition and you adopt a strategy, to take on a different opposition. And in trading, it's pretty much the same thing. There's no one strategy that allows you to brace through every single market condition. You have to adapt to different market conditions. You have to adapt to key factors influencing markets in different times. For example, like the last 2 years, all everyone can talk about is what? Inflation. Yeah, inflation data has been the biggest thing that's been influencing markets. And then all of a sudden, in the last 3-4 weeks, inflation suddenly isn't really a big thing. I mean, not in the US anymore, at least. Everyone's been talking about, what's happening with the US labor market. It's been showing some soft data and stuff like that. And suddenly that's the more important thing that everyone is focusing on. It's no longer inflation. So you have to adapt and tailor-make your approach based on that and not just stick to one way of thinking about markets. Yeah. And in that sense also, you have to adopt a winner's mindset when you come in, no matter whether you're playing sports on a competitive level or whether you're trading in financial markets, a winner's mindset is really important. And this is where I have one of my more recent favorite quotes. I'm not sure if some of you might have seen that. It went viral on Instagram. It's one by Roger Federer, probably one of the most successful tennis players of all time. Federer said that while he won 80% of his matches throughout his professional career, he actually only won 50%, or just a little over 50%, sorry, to be exact, of the number of points he played throughout all his matches. So it's quite a jarring statistic if you think about it. I mean, for a player to win 80% of his matches, but only win barely over 50% of the number of points he played. So what Federer was trying to say is that to win in the big picture, you have to focus on winning the smaller battles. And in tennis, basically, for example, you play a rally, let's say you hit a winner after a 20-30 stroke rally and you earn 1 point. But right after that point, you hit a double fault. And you basically lose that point and you reset everything back again. So it doesn't matter how well you did to hit the winner after a 20-30 point rally. It may be an amazing feeling. It may be, the best play that you ever made. But you can easily just lose the point straight away right after that. So your focus has to be on just winning the next point. It doesn't matter how well you played the last point. It's all about the next point. And in trading, it's basically the same thing, right? You can be profitable for the last 20, 30 trades. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to be successful in the next one. It doesn't mean you should abandon whatever you did before, it doesn't mean you should, let go of your risk management, doesn't mean you should abandon your trading approach. Yeah, it's not going to guarantee that you win the next trade as well. So always focus on the next trade. Don't think about what you did before. And that basically brings us, to that not the analogy, that saying, past performance does not guarantee future success. And that's, what all brokers will, or trading advisors will tell you. And that's where it comes from. All right, the next point I want to touch on is more on the surface, and that's emotions. It's very normal to feel things like anger, fear, greed. I mean, that's when playing sports, you get frustrated at certain decisions. For example, you're not happy with the referee, you're not happy at the opposition. And in trading, it's pretty much the same thing as well. I mean, to feel all these things. We are human after all, right? I mean, in sports, you see people throwing their rackets or, lashing out at the opposition, making a rash tackle and stuff like that. And in trading, for example, when you lose a trade, I mean, nobody likes losing, right? And when you lose a trade, you tend to get frustrated. And you tend to think like, oh, I got to do something to make up for that. I don't like losing. I need to win. And then you think that, oh yeah, you try to just chase another trade straight away. You abandon whatever your trading strategy was. And this is something we call revenge trading, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it. And yeah, it's very common to fall into the traps, all these kinds of traps. But it's important to control your emotions and learning to deal with it so that you can overcome that and not fall into the trap, basically. And it's not just revenge trading, right? There's also like the fear of missing out, right? For example, recently I probably would mention the recent copper trade. I'm not sure, a lot of you might not know about copper. Copper went from I think $3.80 per ounce, and then it rose all the way back. It rose to an all-time high at about $5.20, I would say, yeah, about there. And when it hit $5, a lot of people started saying oh yeah, this is the next big thing. Everyone's suddenly paying attention to copper. But if your trading strategy was actually to watch copper and to chase the run higher, you shouldn't be chasing it right when it breaks out, right? Just because you missed out on that, you're thinking, all right, I missed out on the run from $3.80 to $5. I'm going to come in now when it hit $5.20. And what happened after that? Copper actually went all the way back down, and it's now trading at $4.17. So yeah, always stick to your trading principles. Do not fall into the traps, and learn to control your emotions. I mean, if you ever feel angry or FOMO or anything like that, I would advise, for me at least personally, I like to take a walk. I like to just move away from the screens, take a brief walk, and with that, it clears my head, gets me reset, and just to forget about everything. And when it comes to emotions, the other thing I want to talk about, it's one of my favorite phrases, is to stay nimble and stay humble. Yeah, this ties back with the earlier slide about being flexible, and when it comes to emotions, is that you should never be too emotionally attached to or too sentimental about a trade. For example, when you first started trading, maybe if you went long on the dollar, and suddenly you gain profits like manifold just because you're long on the dollar, and then you're thinking, all right, going long on dollar has done well for me. The next time you see another opportunity, you're thinking, oh yeah, going long on the dollar is going to be good again. But then what happens is that sometimes other factors come into play, and then it's time to switch back to the other side, and you feel reluctant because to you only have that confirmation bias of staying long in the dollar. So yeah, it's important to always stay nimble and be open about switching your trades, not just following just one trade that has been successful to you in the past. And in terms of staying humble, is that it's important to realize that you're never going to get everything right 100% of the time. But in life, I mean, that's the same thing in life, right? You're also going to realize that you're never going to get everything wrong 100% of the time. So stay nimble, stay humble. And the last point I want to make is perhaps the most important one. And it's probably one that people don't really talk about. It's actually risk management. Yeah, I mean, it's not a very sexy term. It's not something that people like to talk about because, you know, everyone just want to see profits. Nobody wants to talk about risk, right? Yeah, but this is probably one of the most important things. And for me, it's, I would say, in terms of risk management, what it actually does is that it helps you to maximize your chance of succeeding, right? Yeah, for example, in basketball, when a team enters into the fourth quarter and they're taking a huge lead, all they want to do is just hold possession, slow the game down. And why they do that is basically they just don't want to let the opposition get the ball quickly or let the opposition back into the game. So in that sense, that's some sort of risk management. But nobody really likes to talk about that, right? Everyone wants to talk about Steph Curry hitting 3-pointers and stuff like that. So yeah. So this isn't the most, you know, striking or attractive kind of thing, but it is important to learn. And in trading, the way to approach it is to understand the ways that you can mitigate adverse outcomes. And that's where stuff like stop loss comes into play, and also using the technicals to define and limit your risk, and also capital management. Yeah, that's another important thing. You know, how much a percentage of your account are you risking on this trade? So it's important to realize all these things and use them as tools to manage your risk so that it doesn't take you out of the game, right? Because once you're out of the game, that's basically it. Yeah, and especially for trading, you pretty much only get like a few shots at it. Yeah, so it's important not to just throw everything away just based on one bad decision. And in that sense, it's making impulsive decisions are almost always bad. I mean, in football, people tend to act on impulse. They will just, you know, run in on a tackle, risk getting sent off. And when you do that, you basically increase the chance of your team losing the game, right? I mean, they're down to 10 men against the opponent. And yeah, you basically just make it tough on yourself, you make it tough on your team. And in trading, it's pretty much the same thing. When you approach a trade without the proper risk management, without a proper strategy, you're just looking at a chart. You haven't been in the trade for, let's say, like maybe 5 days. And then you just look at the chart and then you tell yourself, oh yeah, I think I'm just going to go long the dollar here. But then without any basis or you know, any strategy behind that, it's pretty much the same as you going to the roulette table and just saying, all right, I'm just going to pick red because, yeah, I like the color red. It's the same thing as you just saying, looking at the chart and say, yeah, I'm just going to long the dollar because I like the dollar. So yeah, impulsive decisions are almost always bad, and it's pretty much like gambling. And when it comes to risk management, it's the same thing. It's, you know, if you don't apply the proper risk management, that's going to take you out of the game. Yeah. To sum up, trading, I would say, is not as daunting as what a lot of people make it out to be. There are the little nuances that make trading that maybe look difficult from the outside when looking in. But I would say it's the same for sports as well. If you don't know the right techniques and the little details to actually get better, it may seem very difficult. So in a sense, trading and sports, what they have in common is that they are easy to learn, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to actually get good at it. And I mean, you don't have to be extremely good to be profitable, yeah, but you definitely need to put in the discipline and the effort that is needed to become a trader at least. And with that, I think I'll wrap up my presentation. If anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand if anything. All right. Okay. Okay. If no one have any questions, you can check me out at ForexLive.com. Yeah, that's where I'll be. I'm always in during the European trading hours. I'm there for about 8 hours. And I'm come after my colleague right there, Eamon. And after that is, we basically run the website 24/5, and we also post stuff over the weekend sometimes as well, whenever there's major market news or anything like that. All right, thank you for your time. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.